New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu is out of the running, but it's what he has to say about the Republican Party that we should all be paying attention to. I'm Matt Robeson. This is the Balance of Power Roundtable Show, part of the Beyond Politics podcast. Chris Sununu has announced that he is not going to run for president this time around. He put out a Washington Post op-ed. He says that since 2017, the National Republican Party has lost up and down the ballot in red states and in blue states. That will happen again unless we Republicans undergo a course correction. He goes on to say, to win, we need our message to appeal to new voters. We can do this without sacrificing classic conservative principles of individual liberty, low taxes, and local control. But we must abandon the issues that are solely made for social media headlines, such as banning books or issuing curriculum fiats to local school districts hundreds of miles away from the state capital. And he finishes this section of his op-ed by saying, we need to expand beyond the culture wars that alienate independents, young voters, and suburban moms. Republicans must offer an optimistic blueprint to prioritize issues that connect with these voters, addressing the homelessness crisis, imposing fiscal responsibility, reducing inflation, securing our borders, becoming energy independent, all while championing their individual personal freedoms before they permanently move away from the Republican Party. Alicia, I got to give you dibs on this. You are a never Trump conservative and a Republican. What did you make of this? This feels an honesty bomb.
It was great. I thought it was a fantastic op-ed. I think he said what so many of us are saying. My phone was ringing off the hook yesterday and this morning with people coming out of the woodwork who had been bunkering down on their opinions of this, who agree with him and feel there's almost this like shelter over them now, that if a guy with a 60+% approval rating in New Hampshire can say that, hey, I can come out and say this now without getting eggs thrown at me in the street. He was right on. It was really interesting if you dive into it, because there's this indication he's going to endorse somebody that he thinks can beat Trump. And so the question is, who is that? If you look into it, he took quite a few swipes at DeSantis, all the things you just mentioned. And it was said to, now he was on a radio show program this morning in New Hampshire and was asked if he could endorse DeSantis. And I forget his exact words, but it's not off the table. And he took a few swipes at DeSantis in this op-ed and gave him a guideline. And I compared it to what Chris Sununu has said, maybe it's a good place to be like a national referee. And maybe he just gave DeSantis a yellow card. It was like, caution there, Governor DeSantis. If you want to go far, you got to abandon these things and get back to the conservative principles. And so I think Chris Sununu is right. I think this is a good place for him. I think we need this. I think more Republicans than not agree with him across the country. And where he takes this position he's taking of national referee of the Republican Party will be interesting to see. And hopefully it's beneficial to the party as a whole, and thereby, in my opinion, to the country.
Paul, I have to say that in my experience around you as a member of Congress and for lack of a better word, as a politician, the list of values and issues that Governor Sununu rattled off in that op-ed, addressing homelessness, imposing fiscal responsibility, reducing inflation, securing borders, and becoming energy independent. These are not issues that would have made you throw up as a candidate for Congress, as a member of Congress, and now in your current incarnation as you develop clean energy solutions. That sounds like a pretty reasonable list of priorities.
It's frighteningly reasonable. It scares the hell out of me as a Democrat. And it all sounds great. So let me, for the moment, not go into Sununu's actual record, despite his rhetoric, because his record and his rhetoric often don't match. But his rhetoric in this case is pretty good. And it should be a real warning sign for Democrats. And we can always talk about where the Democratic Party is. Recently, we've seen some numbers indicating that young voters are not moving towards Democrats as enthusiastically as Democrats would hope. Matt, on another show we do, on the Beyond Politics show, we talked about what's happening to African American voters who are not as enthusiastic about Democrats as Democrats would believe. Nothing should frighten Democrats more than a Sununu-type resurgence of the Republican Party, where sanity rules and a loyal opposition deals with Democrats on the issues that we need to deal with for the country. Because frankly, while they have suffered nothing but losses from the crazy wing of the MAGA party, if the Republican Party rediscovers its soul, and true conservative principles and statesmanship will rule the day for Republicans, not only is the country better off, but the Republican Party will be better off, and Democrats will have a real tussle on their hands. And the challenge is, it's amazing that Democrats already have a real tussle on their hands. Imagine what happens when the GOP comes back to its senses.
You can just see Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina kind of pulling his hair out reading this, and he's, I'm here, everyone. This is what I'm saying. Let's return to what we were saying 30 years ago. That seems like a pretty reasonable formula. And I got to say, a refreshing one for me as a Democrat, because I don't want to be arguing about the culture issues. I don't. I think, like most Americans, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I don't want to go around calling Republicans bigots because they take these hardline positions that, frankly, frequently do fall into the realm of bigotry. And I don't think that that's really where the Republican Party wants to be. I would like to have arguments about fiscal policy. I'd like to have arguments about what's the proper role of Department of Education. We're going to circle back to that in a few minutes. These are issues where we can disagree. We can find common ground, like Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Joe Biden just did on the debt ceiling. They reached a pretty decent deal that was making the extreme ends of the parties unhappy, but most people, yeah, that was not a bad deal. I do want to circle back, though, to the beginning of the op-ed. It is standard issue politics speak. It's, while I could have won, I choose not to run, which is very Seinfeld-esque. And that always kind of
every single politician who announces regardless of party, it's always standard to do that. I don't know why.
Keeping your options open.
Yeah,
if you say, I can't win this race, then it makes you look weak. Let's cut through it then. When he says this, I don't think anyone here believes that what he's really thinking on truth serum is, I could have been president, but I just love the fourth term as governor of New Hampshire so much. And I'm looking forward so much to my role shepherding the party through the first in the nation primary that I'm going to forego. That's clearly not what's happening here. So what does it say? Is he right in his first analysis here with the real truth serum answer, which is, I cannot win this primary on the platform that I lay out in the rest of this op-ed?
I have no idea what Chris Sununu thinks in his head and what strategic conversations he's had and all of that. I have no idea. But from outside looking in, I don't think Governor Sununu could have won a primary. I don't think so, because he is the New Hampshire governor and he would have to win New Hampshire. And as popular as he is with Republicans, independents, and even soft Democrats, it wouldn't happen because of DeSantis and Trump. And because there's too big of a pool of Granite Staters that are already in those two lanes. And so if he came out of New Hampshire third, even second, it's just a bad thrust out of the Granite State to go somewhere else. So for that reason, I think it would have been a long shot. Look, there's often a path to victory. We've all been on campaigns where we talk about what is the path to victory, but it doesn't mean there's not a huge boulder in that way you got to chisel out first. And I'm not sure that he could have done that. I'm going to be most curious about who he chooses to endorse. It won't sway my vote anyway. I'm an undecided Republican primary voter, and I have no idea who I'm going to vote for. I do know who I'm not going to vote for, but I have no idea who I'm going to vote for. But I think it'll be interesting to see what perspective he comes up with.
By the way, the preferred term isn't soft Democrats. That's very old-fashioned of you. I think that they prefer open-minded Democrats. Yeah.
Campaigns, and we're doing like, okay, who are we going to knock doors? Oh, there are some soft Ds over here. Let's go there.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him in ads for the Lincoln Project, really taking it right to Trump and or DeSantis, who are focused on nothing but stupid social issues, which most Americans really have just gone past, except for perhaps 20% of hard right-wing insanity MAGA people who like to think that book banning and book burning and let's go. Oh, next thing, by the way, the Republican Party is they want to burn witches.
What was the political party of the leadership of Salem, Massachusetts, a few hundred years ago?
They were all Republicans.
Oh,
it was very clear. It was the early Republican Party. So
she's
a witch. Total tangent. This is what drives me nuts about when people keep saying it's a witch hunt on Donald Trump. Do you know where that term comes from?
You know what the worst part of it is the number of witches that they found.
There's a lot.
They found a huge coven of witches, and they're all doing horrible things inside the Donald Trump campaign.
We're going to dunk Donald Trump and see if he floats.